Assumptions seem to form the basis of the Islamic faith. Now, assumption is accepting something is true without proof. So if we have a look at the Quran, what do we see? Jesus in Surah 5, 116, saying that Mary, his mother, is God. And then we have a look at current events. And if we have a look at that singer which had just been convicted to death in northern Nigeria for blaspheming Muhammad. Now, isn't blasphemy the act of insulting or showing contempt or lack of reverence for a deity or a sacred object? So do we assume then that Muhammad is the God of Islam? You know what I find very interesting is when you present facts like this to your Muslims around you, they always are denied and saying, but where's the proof? Where's the proof? And they're always wanting to look for the proof. And I don't mind presenting the proof to them, but when you do present the proof, it's always, oh no, but that's a lie. And in a recent discussion with a local Muslim, what I found extremely funny was that he said, no, Ramin, you're a liar. So I said, but on what basis? So he sent me Surah 2, verse 18. Deaf, dumb, and blind, so they will not return to the path, to the right path. And I go, whoa, crazy. How does that fit in context? And the context of that comes from the previous passage, which is verse 18, which reads, the example is that one who kindled the fire, but when it illuminated that was around him, Allah took the light and left them in the darkness, so they could not see. And that is the basis of the problem. The basis of the problem is Allah leaves the believers in darkness. And when you confront the believers of the truth, like the new evidence of the errors in the Quran, and the tapings and the erasers of the original manuscripts, it's absolutely shocking that Muslims today still do not want to confront the evidence. So the question I posed in the beginning of this, is your faith based on assumptions? And the best way to do this is have a look at the manuscript evidence. And if we have a look at the manuscript evidence for the New Testament, for example, the oldest document we find is what is called P52. And the biggest argument Islam has against this is that it's only a credit card sized document. But here's the fact. Yes, it's a credit card sized document. What material is it written on? Papyrus. How long does papyrus last in the best environments? 10 years. Why? Because it's a plant-based substance. So here's what Islam tells us. Islam tells us that the Quran was dictated by Muhammad and his followers, and that wrote them down on stalks, on leaves, on stones, on bones. What we do know from Islamic sources that Uthman asked Zayn Tabit to collect all these copies for the Quran and re-edited the Quran into an official format. But let's have a look at the main assumption. Let's have a look at the manuscript evidence for the Quran. And what do we have? We have the Sana manuscript. This is the oldest manuscript for the Quranic evidence, supposedly an Uthman Quran. First of all, what do we have? We have the bottom section rubbed off and a new edited version written on top of it called the palimpsest. Look at P52 again. Do you see a razor? Do you see someone who has rubbed something off? Do you see someone correcting? Do you see the insertion of the word Jesus? No, you don't. So again, I pose the question, what assumption is your faith based on? A Muslim, a Shiite Muslim, is condemned by the Sharia court, the Sunni Sharia court, for committing blasphemy laws. Now, blasphemy is against the deity. How do you blaspheme against Muhammad? Remember, Muhammad beheaded 800 Jews after the Battle of Kibar. Surrendered Jews. Then, Muhammad also married a 6-year-old. And what did Muhammad do in that good old abrogated verses of the Satanic verses? He preached on behalf of Satan. How on earth can you blaspheme against a person like that, who rapes and pillages and takes women as their sex slaves? Is this the God which is elevated in Islam that people should follow? And when you question it, you get told you're a liar? This Imam then goes and produces Matthew 13:13, where this is just after the parable of the sowing of the seeds, where the disciples asked Jesus, why are you preaching in parables? And you know, if you understand the context of first century Jerusalem, you'll understand that the rabbinic teachings were done in parables for people's clearer understanding. When the disciples of Jesus ask, why are you teaching in parables? Jesus responds and says, because the hearers will not hear and the seers will not see. And that's why I teach in parables, so they can have the understanding. But the funny thing here is, this is how this Islamic Imam relates it to how deaf and dumb we are to the Islamic faith. This is the faith which was presented by Muhammad, the ignorant, unlearned Muhammad. Yet, if we go in the context of what Jesus has just spoken about, and that's the parable of the sowing of the seeds, isn't that parable such rich with understanding that when your seed is thrown on rocky soil, it doesn't grow. When it's sown on sandy soil, it doesn't grow properly. It only shoots up a little bit and then dies, because it's not hearing properly. And only the seed sown in the rich, good soil grows to its fullness. Because why? The person hears and understands and can see the depth of Jesus' message. Yet the assumption is, in Islam, Jesus was only a prophet. He didn't understand these depths. And here we have in the Quran that Jesus is saying that those who take Mary, his mother, as a god will go to hell. And I quite agree with you. Mary is not a god. Jesus is the God. And we see that in Surah 345, where he's proclaimed, the angels proclaim him to be the word of Allah. So where does the seeing and the hearing and the knowledge come from within Islam, when the own text claims that Jesus is God? So where is this assumption coming from? Why are Muslims so closed and so deaf to their own teachings, let alone the teachings of the biblical narrative, let alone the teachings of Abraham, which they called to listen to? And when you mention the teachings of Abraham and they go, whoa, no, but it wasn't Isaac, it was Ishmael which was sacrificed. Go and read the Quran. Go and read the Quran, because it says Isaac was sacrificed there, right after it. Isaac never mentions Ishmael. Based on assumptions. And where do the assumptions come from? The assumptions come from the ignorance of what the Islamic scholars are teaching. The mass Muslims out there do not know their Quran. And as soon as they read the Quran, what do? They leave the faith, because the truth is not in their text. And you see, if you're having a look at a faith which is based on assumptions, whether you're going to have a look at the Abrahamic laws, which Muslims don't follow. I mean, no Muslim makes a sacrifice for his sin in terms of Leviticus. In actual fact, Muslims believe they don't even sin against God, they sin against themselves. So, if they're sinning against themselves, who is Allah to forgive them? They should be forgiving themselves. It makes logical sense. If you're not sinning against someone, how can someone forgive you for something you haven't done to them? It's illogical. So where do all these assumptions come from? And these assumptions come from the base knowledge that the average Muslim has no knowledge about their own faith. They listen to imams and scholars who are just regurgitating the lies they've been taught and expect Muslims to follow. Because as soon as you question the Quran, what does the Quran say? The Quran says you're an unbeliever. So you're not allowed to question it as far as the Islamic faith goes. And as soon as you do question or you say something out of line, what happens? The Sharia law falls in. And you're commanded to death as an apostate. This is the assumption of the Islamic faith. So I'll leave you with one question. What race are you running?